Peace and grand rising to the air. Today is December the 27th, 1440 on the sun calendar, 1441 on the moon calendar, and 2020 on the Greco-Roman calendar. I want to get right into one of the most important suggestions, or one of the most important points that I can make. We hear a lot of stuff in Moorish science, and the most important thing that I can say, I'll say it right now, and know that I'm saying this because we all love one another and we want to see one another succeed, and we want everybody to move together as we go higher and higher and higher in the grand rising. But I need to point this out so that we're not caught off guard by it. This is one of the most important things I've ever said. So if you don't listen to anything else I say, listen to this, please. And I'll put it up on the screen just so that we can see. It says, although one may not have any boundaries, okay? So although we may not have any boundaries, if you see someone who doesn't have boundaries, that does not mean that there are not any boundaries. It simply means that they will not see the boundaries until they run head first into them. And I'm saying this out of love because we have some Moors that you know, I don't think that they mean any harm. But as we continue the grand rising, those things that would have kept us from doing certain things, such as, let's say, for example, policy enforcement. Grand rising. Let's just say policy enforcement, for example. As we get to a certain level, policy enforcers will not be at that level because they can only go so far. However, that does not mean that we can just run rampant and do whatever, okay? Because there is a higher authority than them. See, policy enforcers got their consent from someplace. They got their permission from someplace, okay? And we know that place came from like the Pope or someplace like that, you know, because we know the Pope was paying everybody's insurance where policy enforcers and the military was concerned, and you know, all of that. And so once you elevate to a certain level, policy enforcers are not going to be the issue because you will have graduated and risen to a certain point. Now, I would say that that many are not there yet because they still think policy enforcers have some authority. When you realize they don't have any authority, and really know that they don't have any authority, and you know how to remain peaceful and do things honorably, then that's part of the grand rising. But again, if you don't hear anything I say, please hear this. That just if you feel that, okay, we passed that, you know, we passed that part, so let's keep moving, let's do this. Oh, I don't have to worry about policy enforcement, so I'm gonna do this or that. Don't do that. That's what clearing the energies are all about, is please clear the energies so that you can see clearly that we never needed policy enforcers in the first place. Policy enforcers is a new thing. It was a new thing on our land when they came and started doing what they did. We didn't have them before. They were not here. It was us here. And it was us here when we were able to govern ourselves properly and honorably. And we're moving back to that. But we need to be sure that we know that as we move back to that there is a higher energy that we answer to within us. And that energy comes from within us that, you know, it's important that we know that that energy is there to assist us in remaining honorable. Okay? So let's please keep that in mind, because I don't want to see any more getting hurt or taken or detained or anything when it's avoidable. And believe it or not, it's always avoidable. We can all avoid being taken. We can all avoid that. All we have to do is clear our energy, and that's a constant thing that happens throughout the day. Clear throughout the day. Everything that you think you're thinking, every situation that presents itself, clear the energies. If you feel any energies that are blocking or any energies that might be that have you upset, or you're thinking about doing this or that, you know, in terms of getting back at people and all this kind of stuff, please let clearing the energies be the main thing we know how to do, because that's going to clear the way for everything else to come. All of the other information that we're looking for, it will come when our energies are clear. So I just want to put that out there because it's just so valuable, and where we're ascending to right now, it's going to require that we all know how to clear our energies with each other. If someone says something or does something that upsets you, it is up to you to pull yourself aside. You don't even have to pull them aside. You pull yourself aside and clear the energy, so that you're not looking at your brothers and sisters while the answer that you're looking for is passing you by. Okay? Those answers don't have, we can get, the ancestors are willing to give us whatever we are looking for, whatever answers we're looking for. The answers are there. They're ready to give them to us. But we have to be willing to clear the energy so that we can hear. That's what clearing energy is all about. Clear the energy so we can hear. So I'll leave that there. Again, it's on the screen. If you don't hear anything else, if you're one of those Moors that was accustomed to doing whatever you wanted to do out there and nobody could stop you because you were doing whatever you wanted to do, that's a good trait to have. It's a good trait to have because it's going to make you bold enough to demonstrate. However, don't let it disrupt your ability to govern the boundaries that are between being honorable and not being honorable, and clearing energy and not clearing energy, and knowing when energies need to be cleared. If you're feeling any uncomfortability, that energy needs to be cleared. If you're angry, the energy needs to be cleared. If you're frustrated, it needs to be cleared. If you're irritated, just a little irritated, that's the energy you should be paying attention to clear it, so you can hear. So that even if you're watching a video or whatever and you're upset and you're distracted, an answer to one of the demonstrations that you're trying to do may come through that video, and you will miss it because you'll be distracted by whatever uncomfortable cognitive dissonance you may be having. If it was noble for me to beg you to please learn how to clear energies and do it all day, every day, I would do that. But that's not nobility either. So I'll just say that I suggest that we all continue to clear energy, so that we don't have to be tested. We don't have to have that energy tested out of us because we refuse to clear it. Because the ancestors will test it out of us. And why would we put ourselves through unnecessary testing when we have the the authority and the ability to clear the energies ourselves. So I won't stay on that any longer, but it's so important. It's very important that we do that. Okay. So yes, in the chat, relaxation is key to many things. Why? Because it's important as we move forward that our peace be intact. That our peace be intact. It has to be. So that when things happen to distract us, we can just keep moving, unobstructed and unencumbered. Okay. So, and we're all practicing and working on that. We're all working on it. But please, 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 Morris, learn to clear the energy so that those energies that are not helpful won't inhibit us from continuing to possess the estate. Because where we're going is going to be important. To whom much is given, much is required. And much is required of ourselves. It's not like somebody else has a Christmas list that they're checking off. That doesn't even exist. We're going to be managing and governing ourselves and our energy. You know, so I'll leave that there. Let's see. A couple of other things. Where feelings are concerned. So compassion, I want to say something quick about this and then we'll get into our sharing that we're going to do. Compassion. Compassion is seeing the heart of another and knowing when to assist and when to step back and allow them to breathe, to stand sovereign, and to claim their own win by passing their own test unencumbered. That's what compassion is with one another. If I see someone going through something, or if they're exhibiting some energy, I have to know when to lean in and offer assistance, and when to step back and say, okay, let them work through that, so that when they overcome that, they can take the win and say, hey, I overcame this all by myself. I did this in a sovereign capacity. You know. Now, wisdom is whenever one attempts to induce a swirl of unproductive emotion, then, like, for example, if someone comes and they're saying things that could cause us to become highly emotional, no matter what they're saying, we should always say to ourselves, and this is just a suggestion because other Moors have other ways of dealing with these things. I'm just sharing some things here. Always say to yourself, what's the real matter? What is beyond this whirlwind of emotion? Because sometimes the emotions seem like it can come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of emotion going on between you and someone else, and it's like, where did all that emotion come from? Well, we have to look at that and say, okay, what's behind that? Because if it's a bunch of emotion all at once, that means that there was something brewing the whole time and you never saw it. Because you weren't looking, you weren't focused on them, you were focused on whatever you were focused on. And so whenever a whole swirl of emotion presents itself coming from any one direction, then we have to look at it and say, okay, what is this about? What is this really about? And usually it's some cognitive dissonance there, something that has made someone upset. And then we have to determine the best way to assist them. And in determining the best way to assist them, we refer back to the compassion piece. Determine whether we're going to offer assistance or determine whether it's best to step back and allow them to go through whatever testing they need to go through in order to clear that energy, and then just be there for them when they come out of their testing. And most of the time with the sovereign, it's going to be a situation where we assist by making sure that our actions are honorable, and then also stepping back and saying, I'll be here for you when you finish whatever testing you're going through. That's going to be key as well. Because the sovereigns are rulers of the whole earth. But that starts with ruling ourselves first and governing our emotions first. Because and the reason that these topics are coming up is because we are moving into the water age, the new era. And in this new era, it's causing some colonial programming to be shed. And with that shedding of the colonial programming sometimes comes some emotion.
Realizing.
Sometimes we look at one another and the emotion comes there, or sometimes we look in the mirror and there's emotion. Islam. So I wanted to ensure that just to offer a little bit of suggestion there for those who may be dealing with that, because it has come up in several instances recently where I've spoken with Moors who are experiencing something similar. And we've all been there. We've all been there. But, we have to determine what's the best way to assist our brothers and sisters as they go through whatever emotional issues they're going through. Because we're all coming out of colonialism. And the programming is still there in different degrees. So we have to get past that. And that's what this is. That's what all of this is us getting beyond that which would hinder us from seeing what we need to see in order to possess the estate. 2020, vision, being able to see beyond the emotion and look at with the third eye what's really going on. And then determining from a compassionate perspective how to deal with that. Justice in the chat, this is the showing for the age for Aquarius. Yes, it is. And the age for Aquarius is, can we move like water? You know how when you see water, not even a rock, you would think a rock was harder than water and that it could stop the water, but it really can't. The water will just move right on around and over. If there are any openings or any way that the water can get around, whatever obstacle is in its way, it will flow right on around that obstacle. That's the age for Aquarius that we're in, and we are called to flow right on around any obstacles. And the flow of water around an obstacle is not even a harsh situation. It's just the water just gently moves out of the way and moves over and makes the adjustment and keeps going. Okay? So we are all coming to that, into this age with those thoughts in mind. It's all about continuing to move forward. It's about that, continuing to move forward. Leave emotions aside. And aside does not mean ignoring them. It means acknowledge them, but don't let them stop you. And don't languish in them, because we got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And most of us were in a situation where colonizers said any old thing, policy enforcers said any old thing, family members said any old thing to us, and we just kept on going, and we were cool and good and strong then, and then we come over here, and we're offended by everything. Everything. No one can even they can barely say Grand Rising without you being, being offended. And we have to grow past that. That we got to grow past that. It doesn't mean, again, ignoring one another's feelings. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's determining that we are all here because we want to be free and we want to stay free. And that even with all that may be going on emotionally as we come out of this colonization and this state that we were in, that we know that our freedom stands above all else, and that our unity takes front and center. Our unity takes front and center. Our unity takes front and center. And I just thought that's a spell. Yes, Empress Minnie in the chat, that's important. And humility and being humble does not mean necessarily what the Albions and the foreigners and the colonizers and the Christians in all capital letters taught us that humble humility is. It's not the same. You can be humble in a lawful, place, in a good place where ego is concerned. You can be in a good place there and still know that, know your abilities, know your skills. Because see, this is important now too, because where we're going to be so much greater than we are now. We're going to be doing things that we never imagined we could do because we have to. And if we can't get our egos together now, when we're doing just what we're doing, then when we're inventing spaceships and, and I'm just using that as an example, when we're doing all types of stuff, then the ego will get in the way and we won't be able to hear what we need to hear at that level. We're already headed. We're there. Yes, in the chat. The chat is popping. Correct. Know your force and see who you are as the force. Islam, Justice Jeremiah. Yes. Remain in honor, Justice Jade. Michael Young. Yes, those are that. All of that is just good stuff. That's good, clear stuff. So we want to be sure that we keep all of that in mind as we move forward, because we're going to be doing so much more. We're going to have so much more and be doing so much more. And those who want to go to the Justice Marcel, were you wanting to say something? Because your line, it came unmuted a couple of times, and there's a little bit of noise going on back there. It's coming up on the sound meter. If you wanted to say something, just star 6. So we want to make sure that, that we approach this new era that we're in the right spirit of unity, so that we're not hindered or encumbered by anything. And the last thing we need to be doing is self-sabotaging. Don't sabotage yourself. Clear the energy and keep clearing it. Keep clearing it so that we can get on with it. Because I know some are tired of seeming like they're stuck in one place and can't get to that next level. There's some energy that needs to be cleared, and you will get to the next level. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because we're headed up, 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 and it's about to go a lot quicker.
Up, up, and away!
Islam. So that's So now, let's see. Let's go into what we were going to discuss today. One thing that I wanted to discuss is this. it's with regard to the foreigners. In times past, when foreigners in the 1% wealth debt bracket, okay, came to the United States Corporation Company from China Corporation or India Corporation or any of those corporate states, if they had a relationship with someone at a bank in their home country corporation, they would do the following before coming to the United States Corporation Company, okay? They would have their bank buddy to give them a letter of credit for a certain amount. For example, let's say 500 million in Indian rupees, which equals about 6.7 million Federal Reserve debt notes. So let's just say I'm from India and I want to go to the United States, quote unquote. And I'm well-to-do over there. You know, I've done well in business and commerce. And I say, okay, we're going to take our commerce over to the United States Corporation Company. And so I would go down to the bank in India and have them, because, you know, that's the real Indian. There are no Indians here like that, no Indians. But I would go down to the bank and I would have them to issue a letter of credit for 500 million Indian rupees, which is about 6.7 million Federal Reserve debt notes. And instead of trying to carry 6.7 million or even to transfer 6.7 million or 500 million Indian rupees, I would just bring the letter of credit to the United States Corporation Company, take it down there to Bank of America, and have the bank to exchange the rupees for Federal Reserve debt notes and deposit it into the bank account, the corporate bank account at any of those quote-unquote banking institutions, okay? And that is how the majority of those who came here initially. Once they switched the financial system, and they didn't really switch it because ours is still here, but once in 1913 to 1933 they did their thing there, then they started issuing that kind of stuff, that kind of private commercial paper, so that they could come over here and start whatever they needed to start and do whatever they needed to do and lay the groundwork and the foundation for those who were coming afterwards, so that by the time the 1950s and 60s and 70s and 80s came, their descendants could come here with 0 Federal Reserve debt notes. And because those other ones laid that foundation, okay, then the ones who came here with 0, all they had to do was go to the bank or the small business association, which was set up for them, use and say that, and they would say that they're a national from wherever, and then the small business association would give them whatever they needed. And the SBA ain't nothing, was nothing but an arm of the Federal Reserve Bank. It was just another arm. And they would use a status that is not our status, but it looks a lot like it. Just like when they say they're Americans, it might sound like they're us, but they're not, because they're using capital letters to say that. So that's the same thing that was done previously. So then you would look at those people who came here from China and India and all these other places and wonder how in the world is it that they came here with nothing and 2 years later, you know, they got everything seemingly. Businesses, domiciles, conveyances, you know, everything. Well, they were using a financial system and a status that is a shadow of where we're going, a shadow of it. And when I say a shadow of it, I mean that system is not a system that we should be using, because everyone else they were just pretending to be us so that we would know how to do it when we put our own financial system together, which is what we're doing, in the process of doing now. Okay, and that's, again, where unity and energy, being the right energy, and being able to get past things so that we can continue moving forward is concerned. Okay?
Yeah.
So we want to, I wanted to point that out, because that is how the first wave of foreigners who came here, who were in those what do you call them, the 13 families or whatever, you know, the Bush family and all of that, they modeled a certain behavior for those coming in first, which is like us, all of us. This is the first, from what I can see, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first, we're the first Moors who, in the numbers that we have, are setting up our own gold-back system. The liens, any Moor who's done a lien has assisted in setting up the gold-back financial system. Okay? So we've not had that much participation in the gold-back system as we have now. Because again, just like in this example that when they first came here, they didn't have dollars printed out where they had a suitcase full of dollars or anything like that. They just used private commercial paper. They created a letter of credit, which is a hypothecation of our affidavit. And then when they came over here, that system would put a certain number of credits into a repository or a depository or a prepository. And then they would just use that was in that system to do whatever it is they needed to do. And they did it at a certain level where whenever they had that major deposit made, then they would use it to first get the commerce started, and then they would do the domiciles and things like that. If you'll notice, those the ones from China and Vietnam and Thailand, when they come here, a lot of times they'll come here and it's 13 or 14 of them, or in one domicile living at the top, and they're all doing this business. They're getting this business started. In some cases, it will be that, and in other cases, it will be like this that's on the screen. Okay, we're at a point now where we have to start thinking along these lines right here, but with our own financial system. So again, all of this that they did, where they would go and get, you know, the letter of credit and bring it here, and it would actually be honored here by the Federal Reserve debt system. All of this was done because they were using the corporate hypothecated fraudulent facsimile, which appeared as if it was the sovereign status of the Moorish American heirs. However, it was not, because no one can use our status but us. No real gold-backed money was ever used or exchanged. It was all worthless private commercial debt paper using a fake system that only appeared to be using cross-collateralization of sovereign property. And when we talk about cross-collateralization of sovereign property, there's a whole lot behind that piece, so I'll explain it briefly. It appeared as if they were doing cross-collateralization the way we're undoing the cross. Cross-collateralization, the appearance of it is where you have a piece of property and there are supposedly corporate contracts all over that property. Let's say a domicile, and they've got corporate contracts all over it. Well, that's actually cross-collateralization of sovereign property because all domiciles belong to the heirs. All land belongs to the heirs. Everything on this land belongs to the heirs, to us. But there was some cross-collateralization. In other words, they collateralized or used, supposedly, seemingly, used that property in order to create money, quote unquote. And it wasn't money, it was Federal Reserve debt notes. And we are uncross-collateralizing. In other words, we're saying there are no corporate contracts on that property that is sovereign property. It always has been and always will be. So that whole dying on the cross thing is that in order to cross-collateralize, we would have had to consent to the corporate status in order to get, the mortgage, the deed pledge and all of that. We didn't have to do it. We consented to do it, and now we have to undo it. Okay? So those who are in the financial field know what cross-collateralization is. And cross-collateralization and the Federal Reserve are one and the same. One and the same. And so that's another reason why the termination of corporate contracts is going to be so important where we're going. It's important that Moors get that on the public record. Now, the other thing that was going on, and this is just as a side note, just one moment. Some Moors thought it was too hard to wake up and be themselves, so they decided to stay asleep. They did not want to test into their own vast estate. Even today, when tested, some Moors choose to respond with war energy, or they choose to go back to citizen status by agreeing to be a corpse, which means signing a brand new corporate contract that they may think gives them a perceived benefit. Each Moors, other Moors, in some cases, not many, but some, allow friends and family to talk them out of their own vast estate, while the foreigners appear to live it up, but they're not really living it up. That's an illusion. Still others came to this Moorish divine and national movement with their hand out and an oversized sense of entitlement, which is a marker of a soon-to-arrive test. So whenever you see Moors, and this is why the energy piece is so important, whenever you see Moors who are coming to this saying, where's my gold, where's my silver, where my stuff at? That just means that they're slated for a test very soon, because that has to be tested out unless they're willing to clear that energy. And anyone who feels that they should not be tested is not ready to possess their inheritance. This is important where we're going. This is very important where we're going. And the test will not be as difficult. In fact, they won't be difficult at all for the Moors who are willing to willing to clear their energies, rather. The more energy you clear, the less you'll be tested. That's a key. The more you clear your energies of anger and war energy, especially when things happen, especially when someone makes you mad, or a policy enforcer does something or says something or whatever, and we respond to it, which we shouldn't do. We should not respond to them. But let's just say you do. The energy has to be cleared. When the energy is cleared, when the energy is cleared, the test won't be so hard. And in fact, you'll get over it a lot quicker. A lot quicker. by clearing and continuing to clear throughout testing. So back to the previous, that foreign corporate activity, when a poor foreigner came from those same foreign corporations, they would take a capitalized fraudulent debt-based facsimile of our sovereign-born appellations and go to a corporate bank as a U.S. national and get a commercial loan to start a business. And when I say a capitalized fraudulent debt-based facsimile of our sovereign-born appellations, some of us, we were told that when they come here and change their name because it's easier to pronounce. But that's not why they changed their name when they came here. Because we could have pronounced, those names, and we could have shortened them ourselves to something that wasn't the same as our sovereign-born appellation. But because we, as the creditors, were asleep to our status, they were saying, well, they're operating in that debt-based corporate system, so we'll just be the name in black ink in all lowercase letters. We'll be Pauline Ritchie or whatever our sovereign-born names are. They'll be Minnie Price in all lowercase letters, but in black ink. We'll take her benefits if she's not going to use them. And we'll pretend to be her, except we can't be her in red ink because that's the bloodline and birthright. That's why our flag is red. Because we are, and at one point our flag, the star had gone off the flag. But initially it's always been there. So that's why they changed their names when they came here too. They took a facsimile of the names of the Christ, or the sovereign appellations of the Christ. So there's a lot of Pauline Ritchie out there, which just surprised me, that don't look like me and that are not from here. But then when you look at their documents from when they first came through Ellis Island, it was some other Khazar or modern European name. And that happened to a lot of us. Whenever you see someone that's not from here with the same, where they have a name that sounds like your sovereign-born appellation, that your sovereign mother gave you, that's not their real, it's not their name. They were not born with that. It's not their family name either. When they came here, it was a different name. So now I said all of that to say this, I'm not mad at them. We didn't know. But now it's time for us to get it together. We know now, so we need not hesitate to continue moving in the manner that we're moving. Okay? And again, whenever a poor foreigner came here, they came here and they would say, oh, her mother named her Pauline Ritchie, so I'm going to take that name and put it in capital letters in black. And I'm going to use it to go and apply for a whole bunch of stuff and start a whole bunch of stuff and all of this. And whenever I need to use her status, I'll use it. And whenever I need to use my foreign status, I'm going to use my foreign status. And they would vacillate back and forth between those two when it was convenient for them. So I said all of that to say it's time to be ourselves on our own land. And as we move forward in setting up our financial system, it's going to be imperative that we do so in red in all lowercase letters with the right energy. And whenever, again, those people came and their business did poorly, they would just file for bankruptcy and be another one of us. attempt to be another one of us, or pretend to be another one of us, get another, loan or whatever, and start another one. They would go bankrupt. Bankruptcy was not a big deal for them, because to them, they were like, whatever. Well, I'll just change my name and, but we don't have to do all of that. We're the heirs. We're the creditors. We're the creditors. We don't have to do that. We have credit that we get to determine how endless it is as we continue to move forward. And let's do so staying together. And there's some, again, it's important, and this is why we're putting so much emphasis on the termination of corporate contracts. It's going to be imperative that the termination of corporate contracts be done. It's very important that that be taken care of and put on the public record in red and all lowercase letters. And then when you're referring to those accounts and, fraudulent hypothecations of you, that you put that in black and use capital letters, so that anyone out there who is attempting to be you can stop it. That's another reason why everything had to stop. Anybody, let's say, and Empress Minnie, I see your sovereign appellation in the chat, so I'll use you as an example if you don't mind. If there was any other Minnie Price out there who's not from here and she's foreign, but she came here, and when she came here, her name was Natalia Samavong-Zatara. Okay, I'm just using that. I don't know anybody with that name, but I'm just using that. But then when she came here, she became Minnie Price. And she started going around like she was Minnie Price. Well, when Empress Minnie, our Empress Minnie, the real Empress Minnie Price, the living, sovereign Minnie Price, when she terminates all corporate contracts with any name in all capital letters or any name with even one capital letter, she's going to put all who was attempting to be her, they got to stop doing what they're doing. And that's why everything had to stop. Because for each one of us that said no more corporate contracts, there's, in some cases, millions of documents that were created that had to stop functioning in that corporate system. GME iUtility website, go there. Most of us know about that website where you can go there and put in a quote-unquote social security number and see how many times, there was cross-collateralization going on. Because that's what that really is cross-collateralization. But not really, because they never could really touch us in our vast estate, because that's not us. It's a facsimile. It's a fake, counterfeit heir. And look what they were able to do, even being counterfeit heirs. So, let me just look at the chat. Okay, there is someone signed in as Light Bay Moorish Nation. That's not me. Yeah, that's not me. So, yes, Justice Juremore. Overlay of the de jure Moorish Amex some financial system. Yes. So, the overlay is sometimes referred to as the Buck Act.
Islam and
That's part of it. Islam. Islam
Justice Jim Moore is locked out.
Okay. Okay. It's unlocked. So again, the overlay, if you do some research on the Buck Act, it will tell you more about that fake fraudulent corporate overlay. Okay. Islam. Let me see. I'm paying as close attention to the chat as I can. Yes. Islam in the chat. We are filling the empty. Yes. So again, nature abhors a vacuum. We don't like for things to be left empty because we bring fullness to everything. So when we abandon, and we didn't really abandon, we just consented to go through with this growth process. But when we did that, it left the space so that other beings could experience what it's like to be sovereign. They got a taste of it. They got a taste of it. Okay. Islam, Justice Jim Moore. They got a taste of it, and now it's time for us to be ourselves. So I just wanted to bring that up, and then we can even talk about the word bankrupt. There is no way, and this is how you know they're not us, is there's no way for a sovereign to be bankrupt. When you look at that word, bankrupt, the word bankrupt indicates that there has been a rupture or an interruption or corruption of the bank. Sovereigns cannot go bankrupt. The only time we think we're bankrupt is if there's been some misunderstanding of sovereign concepts due to amalgamation, corruption, or interruption of a banking process. In other words, we would have to actually be looking at corporate things thinking that we're bankrupt because we're looking at corporate documents. And those documents are saying something, and we think it's talking to us. So if there was consent to a corporate contract, or a contract was not terminated, then that causes a rupture or corruption or interruption of the flow of currency. A sovereign bank can never be corporate, and a corporate bank can never be sovereign. And when I say bank, we're the bank. It's time for us to be ourselves, to continue to use our own sovereign credit and continue to use our own sovereign gold-backed money system. And again, Islam, Empress, I believe it's still unlocked. Yeah, it's unlocked. It's unlocked. So we want to be sure that the termination of corporate contracts is done. Please make sure that it's done in red in all lowercase letters and somewhere on the public record. It can be on Facebook on the public record. It can be, you can publish it in a newspaper if you choose to do that. Doesn't matter which one. You can go to Moorish American Consulate Public Records page and upload it freely there on Facebook. If you have your own website that you want to freely put it up there, put it up there. Somewhere, anywhere on the public record, a termination of all corporate contracts so that we can safely move forward, okay, unencumbered, and so that no one gets into any issues where corporates are concerned and corporate claims are concerned, okay. Just a moment. So, speaking of capitalism, I want to give you another example of how they've been using what would seem like a status that's similar to ours. Because in one of our previous calls, one of the Moors talked about using his sovereign Moorish identification card to go to the other Africa. And for us, it is something to demonstrate that. That was a bold, very bold and beautiful demonstration that the Moor did. What we need to realize when we're doing those demonstrations, and more of us will be doing them, is that those who were pretending to be us were using identifications that were not, they were saying, in other words, their ID said that they were a national of some kind too. So in reality, our use of a national ID card is not new. It's not new at all. It's just new for us. And so we have to keep that in mind when they start acting like, you know, if we're traveling somewhere and some corporate is acting like they don't know what a sovereign Moorish American ID card looks like. We have seen some of the ID cards of some of those that were pretending to be nationals while we were asleep. And it had capital letters all over it, but it looked a lot like ours, except it had blank capital letters and black ink all over it. But it said, you know, Hindu national or Yemeni national or Iranian or Iraqi national or whatever the case may be. They've always been traveling freely around with that stuff. But then all of a sudden when we do it, it seems like, you know, but it's not a, we just have to enforce it. We just have to enforce our ID card. So travel, that's a demonstration that, you know, leave a day early if you have to. Plan on whatever you have to do it in order to demonstrate your nationality with the ID card only. Because it doesn't matter where on this earth you go, that ID card is to be honored. Because, again, just like I was saying in the beginning of this call, there are people who've been coming from all over the place pretending to be the heirs, using stuff that's very similar to what we have, except ours is not corporate. Ours is sovereign. We're the real sovereign. So travel for many of us is going to be picking up in 2021. And I'll say this too about that whole corporate system. They're not even, other lands are not even accepting those documents anymore. They're not. I was watching a video the other day called, yes, passports, they're not even accepting those things, those monstrosities with capital letters everywhere in black ink. So we must enforce our sovereign status. I was watching a video that continuously I see things that affirm what we know and what we're saying. There's a video, a series of videos out there on YouTube, and it's called The Nomad Capitalist. Here, in fact, let me put that on the screen. It's called The Nomad Capitalist. There it is right there. Nomad, N-O-M-A-D. Now, if you think that these people don't know what they're doing when they name their shows and put all of our information right out there in front of our faces for us to look at and know it and recognize it, they do. They know exactly what they're doing. Do you know what a nomad is? Well, we know that it's really nomad, as in nom de guerre. Nom means name. N-O-M means name. A nom de guerre is a war name. A nomenclature is a number that names a thing. So they call the show Nomad Capitalist. Nom means name, ad means advertising. In other words, whenever these citizens go to they do their research and they research other quote unquote corporate countries, and they say, I'm going to go wherever I'm treated the best with whatever citizenship document I have. In other words, they're trying to mimic theirs. And that's why our sovereign nationality, our ID cards are going to be so important in 2021. So what they do is they'll go and travel around to other countries. And when they go into those countries after, and this is after what we talked about a little while ago, this is after they've come here as, let's just use the name Nadia Komenin-Shalevsky. Okay, I'll just use that. I don't know anybody with that name. But they come here as that, and then when they get here, all of a sudden they're Pauline Ritchie or Minnie Price or, one of our sovereign-born names, but they capitalize it and put it in black. So then they gain some documents from here, and all of a sudden they're a U.S. citizen. And then they go around to these other places, and they say, okay, where are U.S. citizens treated the best? Well, while we were asleep, it didn't matter where they went, they got treated very well because everybody thought or treated them as if they were us. Okay? Everybody treated them as if they were us. And now that we're awake, and watching these videos of nomad capitalists, I'm seeing now where the citizens are having a very hard time going around like they used to, because they used to be able to go anywhere and say, I'm an American. I'm an American. And they would get the red carpet rolled out for them. And then they would do all types of madness over there. And then, and then everybody would look and go, no, that's not an American. But I'm preparing, and this is all being said in preparation for where we're going now. Because whenever these people would go around to these different places, they would just go and take advantage of everything that was available to us, the Moors. They got the red carpet rolled out for them. There's a reason why the carpet is red that treats you so well. But we knew that already. So these nomad capitalists would go and by the time they have come here and changed their name, and now they got a name that sounds like a sovereign American, but it's not a sovereign American, then what they do is they'll go back to all these other places as if they're us now. They'll go back to all these other places, corporate places, and take advantage of everything over there. Everything over there, because the people were like, oh, you're American. And we know that we're all eating off the Americans, so we better treat you well. Because we're all eating off the Americans, all of us. So we better treat you well if you're one of them. In watching that show, a lot of them have had to settle down somewhere because they're starting to throw them in jail because they're not us. They're not us. They're wanting to see now the real heirs. And they can tell by everybody having to wear masks that the real heirs are speaking. That's how they know that's the earth-wide signal that the heirs are awake. Is, okay, everybody, lock down, mask, it's the heirs, the real ones. They're speaking now. So everybody put a mask over your mouth and be quiet so that the heirs can speak, and let's hear what they have to say. And so that's their earth-wide signal to one another that it's time. So this nomad, they would create U.S. Treasury bonds because we weren't traveling also. Many of us, the majority of us, we were not traveling. We were stuck on 9 to 5 or didn't have enough Federal Reserve debt notes to even travel. You know. So then everybody else got to just live it up and do whatever they wanted to do. Now, don't let that make you mad. Don't let that, in fact, you should get very excited because it's our turn now. I'm excited. It's our turn. So, after watching several of these videos, I noticed a pattern. The show is solely about places that citizens can visit or reside in for a short time by jumping through costly and creative fiat. They used to not have to spend that fiat to get there. They would just go there and everything would be laid out. But then the people in the other lands got, you know, they got kind of wise. They got smarter to that whole scheme of that. These aren't the real Americans. You know, they just coming over here throwing around Federal Reserve debt notes. So then they said, okay, well, if that's the way we're going to play, let's you know, and this is the corporates over there saying, okay, let's play. Give us all the Federal Reserve debt notes you can give us. You know, that was then. This is now. It's different now because no one's accepting Federal Reserve debt notes. So this show is for those who do not have a nationality. That's why they have a whole citizen setup, earth-wide, and it's actually worldwide because it doesn't have anything to do with the earth. We're the earth. And that whole setup is for those who do not have a nationality, and they just, when you get a chance to watch it sometimes, because even in the show, the host, every now and then he'll mention being able to obtain a visa in various places through descent, as in descendant and descendability. So there was a little loophole in there if we were claiming to be dead where we could get involved in that, but we don't need to do that anymore. This is about for those who are doing it. It's time to be ourselves. And we need to be traveling with sovereign Moorish American identification card, a national ID, because all of those fake citizen documents are in the absence of a national ID. And national ID is not absent on this land. It is very present because we're here. So now when they take those fake documents fake U.S. documents over to someplace else, some corporation company documents, those people don't take them. And if and we mentioned this before and showed you a little clip before where if you're a U.S. corporation company citizen and you take a passport over to another place like China or someplace like that, and you try to open a bank account over there with that passport, they can throw you in jail and any bankers that do that because the heirs are awake. So it's going to be imperative that we demonstrate our sovereign status with our Moorish American ID card. As often as possible, we need to do that. We have to do it because we have to train them. We have to train them in order to for them to get back in alignment. We got to train them, and the best way to train them. If you all were listening to House of Reawakening Minds the last time Grand Sheik was on it, which was, I believe, 2 weeks ago, he and Dr. Niella talked about how they went into a bank, and the bank manager had to be called so that they would accept Grand Sheik's ID. And Grand Sheik educated them like we're supposed to do. He educated the bank manager, and they of course did what they were supposed to do, which is honor the sovereign status. Islam in the chat, yeah, you heard that. So that's how we have to do with everything. Everything. We have to not let convenience be the reason why we don't, travel in our sovereign status. Where we're going, we're going to need it. Where banking is concerned, only Moorish American ID will be accepted in the new economy. So everything that we're saying, that we're suggesting that Moors do and put on the public record is for a reason. It's for a reason. It's so that we can be a part of our own economy. Because you will not be able to be a part of the of this economy that is coming into this new era without Moorish American sovereign national ID. Article 1508, Empress Aliyah, thank you for that. Article 1508 on the U.S. Department of Justice website states that a driver's license, a birth certificate, and a passport are in the absence of a national ID. And yes, Justice Amos, the answer to that is yes. The national ID is part and parcel of the rights of indigenous people. And that other system that was issuing war documents, those war documents, we're not at war anymore. We're not at war anymore. So war documents, if we can't use those. I still have a particular demonstration where I've not yet used my Moorish ID to get onto a military base, but that's forthcoming. It's forthcoming. Got to do it. So I'm just going to give them, prior notice. I'm going to give them prior notice, and then I'm going to send, affidavit. Can you hear me now, Empress? Is it better? Okay. I'm going to send affidavit and do the demonstration because that's our land too. That's our land too. You know, that belongs to the heirs. So, again, these people, I know that we sometimes feel like we're doing demonstrations that have you know, that these people have no idea about. They've always known. They've always known. And not only have they always known, but they've been using some facsimile of who we really are the whole time. They've been using documents that say national this and national that to travel with. So let's just get used to being ourselves. Let's keep going. Let's keep moving forward. The new financial system is manifesting even more so than when we started in 2018 was when we contributed our part to that. Starting in 2018 and moving forward, we're always contributing. All of us are. But
Oh no, lost all my checks. No.
we're gonna keep contributing to that whole financial piece because the new financial system has everything to do with us and no one else. And when I say no one else, it's our job to put it where it needs to be. Okay. Are there any questions or comments at all about any of the things that we've said with regard to how foreigners have been behaving as if they're the sovereigns and all of that? Any questions about that? Any comments? Anything of any nature? Or any questions about any of the demonstrations that you're doing? Islam.
Grand rising to all Moors. Just wanted to give or comment and to talk about a situation. There's a lot going on. We all know that. And in relation to folks, what you just said, which was the behavior of those that would be subjects, ipso jure, as it relates to our demonstrations and our work. I've done a lot of work for the nation. I've done a lot of stuff for the nation. There are some concerns, some immediate concerns for safety relative to those demonstrations and the stuff that's going on that I see happening. I don't have any particulars that I'd share at this moment. However, I just wanted to put on the call that is an issue and a concern, and that's it for now. Is there any parameters
what is it
or
particularly that's an issue or a concern?
Say again?
You said safety is an issue or a concern?
Yes, physical safety, and that includes a place to stay. That includes a conveyance. That includes the immediate concerns of being an heir. I don't think it's enough to tell somebody that they just need to be competent and that they need to do this or do that when they're doing that. I don't think it's a thing about energy, because guess what? Good energy, bad energy, if an heir is an heir, they're an heir. And if they have an immediate need and they've been breaking their neck, doing everything that is necessary to do as they understand it, I don't think they should be homeless. I don't think they should be without. I think that's insane. We have gone far. We've done much. But I think we need to really, really revisit that and make sure that that we're taking care of what needs to be taken care of. So that said, I'd love to hear any comments or questions about that. And with that, I yield. Unless someone has a question for me, I yield.
Islam. So, are there any more on this call who last night, let's just say last night, I'll just ask about that one night. Are there any more on this call who last night slept under a bridge? If so, star 6.
Islam. Every night for the last. Well, under a bridge, a specific location. However, it is.
Well, I was just asking about that part right there. I'm just asking about the bridge.
Well,
did any more sleep outside against their will? Last night.
Hold on a second, because I want to make sure that this isn't obfuscated. Under a bridge is a specific location. I understand I get your point. However, for someone to have done work that has yielded results, however, the results have not been manifest for that person in particular.
Are you talking about yourself?
Do we need to be specific? If we do, we can.
Well,
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary, but I'll tell you.
No, it's not necessary. But
I have. Hold on. I have firsthand experience with my own situation. If that's where you want to go. The issues that I'm talking about are from my own personal experience and that of many more. So, the issue, like I was saying, is under a bridge is a specific location. Display own is a whole different question. I'm sure there's many more that have been in that situation and that are currently in that situation. Who is to say what type of housing is sufficient or what type of conveyance or anything else? An heir is an heir, and their credit is what it is. So, like I said, I'll yield and I'll listen. I'm curious to hear what anybody's thoughts on that are.
So, here's my thoughts on that. The energy piece cannot be negated because, see, to say that an heir is an heir, energy, bad energy or good energy, that's a dangerous place to be. The energies mean everything. There's a reason why we say what we say about the energy. But if you continue to overlook that, you'll continue to pay the price for overlooking that. And the Moors in the chat, they feel me because they're, because for many years, we've been the heirs the whole time. So then it's not about whether we're an heir or not. It's about what we know about us, and it's about how we respond to the testing that we're given. We've been the heirs even in citizen status. We thought we were citizens. We were still the heirs then. So it's not about whether we're the heirs or not. It's about, do you know what heirs really mean? Being competent at being an heir has everything to do with the energy.
Islam, I just want to say this because, as I said, this could be my last call. I don't know what's going on. There's a lot going on. But for the record, the demonstrations that I've done were not mine alone. They were done in concert with. Now, if people want to put out that it was just me doing whatever and I have bad energy, to me that sounds like a sacrificial lamb. I never signed up to be a sacrificial lamb for anything, not anybody or anything. I have done the absolute best I could to see to immediate needs. And I'll be specific, when I was displaced from my home, it was my home that I was going after, not 10 domiciles. That decision was made in concert with others, all of whom now seem to have done something else or whatever. I don't know what the deal is, but I know I'm not okay being somebody's sacrificial lamb. I'm not. So if the nation is doing something else,
did you know that as a sovereign, that no one can make you a sacrificial lamb, but that you do that to yourself? We all do. If we choose, that's a choice. Just like slavery is a choice.
Well,
it's a choice whether we consent to that or not.
I am saying right now, for whoever is listening, I do not consent to be a sacrificial lamb.
You don't have to be.
Hold on. The demonstrations that were done with full knowledge of all concerned, and anything else, any other misrepresentation is just that, a misrepresentation.
Islam.
The aspersion that I somehow have bad energy, I may disagree with some things, but that's not bad energy. That's disagreement.
Did someone say you had bad energy?
I didn't say that. I said if someone said that.
Okay.
If someone is saying that.
Then there's some other things.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm not going to let you talk over me because, like I said, this could be my last call. This situation where information is misrepresented and presented in a certain type of situation, that's not cool. I'm not cool with that. I was good as long as we're going in what I saw was a good direction. If we start going in another direction, I have a responsibility as a sovereign to speak up, to say what I think. Now, if that's deemed bad energy by somebody that disagrees with me, okay, you can say, you can think that. But my energy, my connection to the universe is pure. It is what it is. And if I have the opportunity, then that will be made manifest, or is already made manifest. The fact that the work that I've done has had results, but those results have been shielded from me is not an act of the universe. That's an act of some persons or parties that are involved, and those, yes, are corporate terms, because those are corporate actions. The universe doesn't work that way. For me to have done demonstrations that have yielded results and have them shielded from me so that my children go without, that's unconscionable. And I don't care what kind of spin people want to put on that. It's not okay. It is not okay. And you know what? The same universe that we're talking about and the same karma and all of those things will come.
That's true.
To whoever is and whatever is doing all that madness.
That's true.
Some things have been said that I agree with on these calls. Some things I don't agree with on the calls. And when I don't agree, I speak up.
Islam.
So,
and we honor that you speak up. Hold on, Justice Dearmore. Let me. I was just letting you finish. I was letting you finish. Go ahead.
No, that's the gist of what it is. That is what it is. That's the gist. I'm not playing any games. This is not a game for me. I yield.
Islam. So again, hold on for just 1 second. First, Justice Dearmore, and then the Empress, because I believe there's an Empress who wanted to say something. But let me say this about all of that. The same thing I said at the beginning of the call, I say it now. It's all about the energy. And nothing can happen to a sovereign that we don't consent to. I'm just telling you. Nothing happens to the sovereigns that we don't consent to. And when we realize how powerful we are, like that, then we'll be on the right track. We're getting there. We're getting there. Justice Dearmore, you were going to say something, and then there was an Empress that's going to say something.
Islam, I was just listening and seeing and listening to what is being talked about, and
yes,
seeing, like you talked at the beginning, and you know where I am at with that. If the energy is not right, nothing else can ever be right. So that is correct. I understand what brother is saying, but again, it's a matter of, again, the one who is being pressed and the one who is looking at the presser. So he's being pressed and he's going through a lot of things right now, and I agree with that, that he needs solutions, but the solutions will only come from within self. They cannot ever, and I mean ever, come from outside and from someone else. So I would say I've felt this kind of way, and I've been through all kinds of adventures to get to these 60-somewhat years of travel.
Yeah.
But I don't regret any of it, and I don't spend time being concerned about who's doing what to me. I spend all my time considering what I am doing to me, because if I get me right, I know that it doesn't matter what the hell else is wrong. I'm all right. Because, you know, and I just wanted to say that to make the point that ultimately the responsibility and the responsibility is to me, for me. And I would not allow anyone else to take that responsibility on or try to blame them for any part of what I don't see as being successful. But I'm talking about
Hold
me.
on.
That is my
Justice
thing,
Marcel, I had to mute you for just a moment so we can hear Justice Gilmore. Go ahead, Justice Gilmore.
That is all I was saying, and I know Justice Marcel is having some problems, and we've talked about it, and you know, but for any of us to go and turn any of this stuff outside, it means we've stopped looking inside. And the moment we stop looking inside, we cannot identify anything that isn't right.
Yes.
Because the stuff outside is just a reflection. It is purely the reflection of what we are thinking is
I want to tell a story.
Justice Marcel, if you would hold for just a moment, because there was another empress that was going to say something too.
Well, hold on.
Close on that.
I
will close on that. Islam.
Because, like I said, I don't know what's going on, and I don't want this not to be on the record. So somebody else can go after I go, if that's okay with everybody. When my situation with the domicile started,
Empress, you were slated to go, but just let him go. Let him get out what he needs to get out. Go ahead, Justice Marcel.
Am I being heard?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. When the situation with the domicile started, I was going back to my house, period. That was it. Conversations ensued that, why don't you just go for a bunch of houses? Go pick the nicest houses that you see, that you like. Don't worry, we're going to work with you. We'll be right there the whole step of the way. That's what it was. That's what I started. That's what I did. Now, are those on this call that know of the situation, is it going to be said that those domicile and conveyance demonstrations have not yielded results? Are there no conveyances on the road that have used the process that I put on the record when we did the work that we did together? Because I'm pretty sure that that is the case. I'm pretty sure that there are things that have been said and ascribed to me, specifically to my signature and my thumbprint, that I didn't do. I didn't say. I don't feel is accurate. Now, I don't know what somebody does with that, because it seems like you said it, you did it, and then, oh, now you have bad energy, so now we're gonna say this or that. And yes, you have to look within. Like I said, I feel my connection is pure, my intentions pure. Everything that I've done and everything that I will do is in alignment with who I am. That does not mean that I agree with everything that's said. I don't agree with that. So back to the demonstration. Just recently, some madness happened where the information that was put out that was on my phone was, put it this way, when in some instances we're a team, and then in other you're on your own and you do your own demonstration. I've been saying for the longest that we should do all of that stuff as a team, work together. And on several of our calls, it was said that, oh no, you have to do your own demonstration. You have to do this, you have to do that. And lately, thankfully, some of that stuff has changed. However, so has a few other things like marginalization, like aspersion casting, and other related things. None of that is girded by love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. There is no justice, there's no love, there's no peace in that. That's war. That's war. And we, both as a judiciary and as a nation, owe better. We owe it to all Moors. Speaking of all Moors, I'll make one other point. The documents that we put on the record are for all Moors. When we claim credit, we claim credit for all Moors. I think it was 40 million Moors. So we have a responsibility to 40 million Moors to assist them in getting up to speed. And yes, we can say they need to look within. Yes, we can say that they need to grow a lot. That's true. We have a lot of work to do. However, anything short of providing services to all Moors, meaning there should be no Moors that are displaced, period. There should be no Moors without conveyances, period. There should be no Moors that have lack at all. And if we do anything short of that, then we're not living up to our responsibility. And we can say we're not leaders and all that, but guess what? We're the ones that claim the credit. So if you claim credit and then don't provide the services, that's theft, in my opinion. And it's unconscionable. As unconscionable as someone that did work, the work has yielded results, but they're still sleeping on the floor of the church. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. So people can say whatever they want, think whatever they want about me or my energy or anything else like that. I've done a lot for this nation, and as of this moment, I'm displaced. As of this moment, I don't have a conveyance. As of this moment, my son feels like he doesn't have a father, as does my daughter. That's not cool.
Okay, but
no
Justice Marcel, you're not the only Moor who's in that situation. That's number one. And number two, you were displaced 6 years ago. There are some things that have to be done. Okay, so let's put everything back in its proper perspective here.
I'm listening.
You were displaced 6 years ago. This is not new. It's 6 years ago. Long before you ever even came to before I ever met you. So here's what I need to say about that, and I'm going to mute you just because there's background noise, if you don't mind. Is it okay if I mute you because of the background noise? Just for now. And then, okay, well, you muted yourself, but you know how to unmute. Unmute is *6, okay? But here's what I want to say about all of that. We can overlook the energy part all day, every day. But until we get our energy right, we're going to think that someone outside of us has control over us. No one outside of a sovereign has control over the sovereign nor their vast estate. No one. No one. And I mean no one.
Islam.
Hold on, let me finish. Hold on and let me finish now, because you had that's the more that are on this call don't even know the details of your situation. But I'm speaking in terms of, and I'm going to generalize it again because all Moors need to hear this. There is not a single Moor on this planet that can put their thumb on your estate and stop you from getting to it. A sovereign Moor who knows who they are, no one can stop you from getting to your estate. Period. If you're really sovereign, then prove it. I'm like Grand Sheik. He said that a couple of weeks back. If you're sovereign, be sovereign and prove it. Well, that's what we're doing, but we're doing it all together. Okay? Now, we have compassion, because that's what we started talking about, for all Moors who are displaced. Because believe it or not, we're all displaced because none of us were living like our ancestors wanted us to, so to speak. But the ancestors also want us to be responsible when we govern this vast estate. There are boundaries that must be observed in the law.
Islam.
And we're moving forward. Hold on, Justice Marcel, let me finish.
I told you, this is actually crucial. What boundaries?
Hold on, Justice Marcel. Let me finish.
What boundaries? I'm curious.
Hold on, please. Let me finish.
Truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's the boundary. That's the boundary. Okay. Just saying.
Those are the boundaries. Those are the boundaries. Keep those in mind, and we'll move on past that point. Since you named them, named them, Justice Marcel, and this is not the call for that. Okay, now, just a moment. Because the Moors that are on this call, you're frustrated right now, and I get that. But the Moors that are on, and we feel you. But again, the Moors that are on this call also know that no one can stop anyone from getting to any estate that really is rightfully theirs. That's a sovereign. And the things that have happened with you, I wasn't even there.
All Albions are not bad.
So, all subjects. They're not. We agree. We agree.
Do not deserve
that. I agree with that.
Things that I agree with that.
I agree with that.
I can say with certainty that my energy was just fine as long as I was in agreement and towing the line that everybody else wanted. And if I disagree, now there's a problem. So that's the message. And I'm saying it now. I know these people on the call don't know. They don't have any specific information. This call is on the record. Same record that everybody listens to.
It is on the record. It is.
Yes. That's the
we
reason
feel
why
your frustration, by the way, and we feel your frustration. You got to stay strong, though.
It's not frustration. And again,
it is
misrepresented. What it is a realization that things are not as they seem. That's what it is. And that's all it is.
Yeah, it's correct.
With that,
we've been saying that the whole time.
What's that?
We've been saying that the whole time. Nothing is what it seems. And that's what we're here to fix.
I agree with that. So
that's what we're here to fix. So, Justice Marcel,
I'm listening. What?
No, well, I just want to be sure you're done. If you're not finished, I'll yield the floor.
The only point that I said is if the work that I've done has been used to get conveyances and domiciles, yet I don't have one, there's no excuse for that. That's unconscionable to me because the work is out there and so are the results. So that.
Okay. Have you yielded the floor, Justice Marcel?
Say again?
Have you yielded the floor?
Have I can't understand what you're saying.
I was just asking if you had yielded the floor.
I have. I'll yield.
Okay. Thank you. I don't want to interrupt you when you're speaking. So for the more that are on this call, go back to what we talked about at the beginning of this call and know that, and then do the research on sovereign, the word sovereign and what it really means. The sovereign means that we're the rulers of our own. Government means governing our own mental. That means when we're doing that, no one can stop us. If the Albions can't stop us, what makes us think that anybody else can? They can't stop us, period. Period. If they can't stop us, then what makes anyone think that anybody else can? No one can stop the Moors. No one can stop the Moors. And the more that we come to that realization as to who we really are and that no one can stop us, the better off we'll be. Every time something happens to a Moor, we all feel that pain because we all been there. But this movement must not stop just because things happen. When I was arrested in 2017, the movement did not stop. And I couldn't come out of there and point to everybody else and say, they didn't tell me this and they didn't tell me that, when they were just trying to assist. There was so much we didn't know then that we know now. And one thing I learned while I was in there is all about the energy, because I wasn't the most competent in 2017. I didn't know then as much as I know now about who I am. But when I came out of there, I couldn't point to Grand Sheik and say, you didn't tell me this and you didn't tell me that. He told me everything I needed to know in order to get through that test. And then when I came out, I knew, yes, Islam, come on and say that again in the chat. Seek ye first the kingdom and the conveyances and the domiciles that have your attention will come. That's the truth right there. Those things will be added after the kingdom is sought. The kingdom is the energy. The kingdom is the energy. And we got to get our energy right. We got to clear it. And when you hear somebody say that energy don't matter, just send them some positive energy, because they're going to test out of that. Energy is everything. It's everything. And some don't want to believe that. You don't have to believe me, because it's not about feelings and beliefs. It's about the ancestors are energetic beings. And so are we. We're more energy than we are this flesh that you see. We're more energy than that. We're more energy than a domicile and a conveyance. The reason we call a conveyance and not a car is because conveyance means something that is transporting energy. By definition, a conveyance, that word, to convey, means to move energy. So it can't be a car, it can't be a vehicle, it can't be an automobile. It has to be a conveyance because it's carrying the energetic being, which is us. And just like I said at the beginning of the call, if you find yourself angry or frustrated or whatever it is that you're going through, and I have to do it too, clear the energy. Clear the energy so that you can hear the ancestors, not like the ancestors. Now, we share information, but we can only make suggestions. We can't tell sovereigns what to do. We never have been able to tell. If we could tell sovereigns what to do, the land would be straight already. But we can't, because the sovereign is the ruler, the governor, the government. The sovereign governs their mental. We do not. And so, just a moment. because I'm going to have to, just a moment. And so either we hear that and we live that and we deal with that situation in terms of, when I say deal with it, I mean just go within like we all have to do. We all have to go within. If I had come out of that situation and blamed someone else for it, for me going to jail, then I would probably be back in there. It was no one's fault. The ancestors had something they wanted to show me in there. I needed to clear my energy, not be mad at the ones that were walking around with the keys. Don't be mad at them. Clear the energy so I can see what they needed me to see, because had my energy been not cleared, guess what? I wouldn't have seen that they were scared when I came in there. They had the guns. Why would they be scared? Because they saw a peaceful heir who was determined to do whatever it took. If I had to sit there, I would have sat there, and I did sit there. For 25 days, I sat there. But I said, ancestors, whatever you want me to do, I'm willing to do it, and it's not going to be anybody else's fault. I'm going to demonstrate who I am, and I'm not going to sign any document that say some attorney or any of that. We must take full responsibility for our actions, full responsibility, and don't ever yield your power to anyone. And there are no shortcuts to that. There are no shortcuts to that. We cannot yield our power to anyone, not even to each other. And any more that's really, really smart won't accept that someone calls them their leader. Any more that say you're the leader, we say, no, just keep growing so that you'll know that you lead yourself. And that is, that's where we are with all of this. We're growing. We're growing. And so with that, we're at the 2-hour mark. There was an empress who wanted to say something.
Islam.
Yes.
I'm here from Khalifa territory.
Yes, Islam.
Recently, I had the police come to my place, and they kicked open my door. I'm not going to say kick. I'm not sure what instrument they used, but they knocked down my door to come get my daughter because my daughter's father was trying to. Hold on, please. And they took her. Can you hear myself? Yes, I put mine down.
So, are there any corporate contracts associated with?
Oh,
your
I
daughter?
just wanted to give my experience. So they came and took her, and I was very grateful for what happened because I understand what I needed. When she came to me, I understood that I wasn't ready. I didn't set that up. My daughter wanted that, and my mother said that she would support that, but I wasn't ready. And because I wasn't ready, that means the intentions of mine couldn't be of working with her staying here with me, and therefore I wasn't getting anything done. And so when that happened, I can only be grateful because I know that she'll be okay. I know that she got taken because I wasn't taking the actions that I needed to do. And now that she is not here, I'm able to really focus on that like I was before she got here. And not only with that, my daughter will get to learn from the situation. Like the things I tell her, like not to speak to these people, or when they come to our house, not to be in our window. She always wants to see and be involved because she's not afraid of any of those things. And so when she comes back to me, I can point to her and show her the lesson that was also in there for her that came out of this lesson house for me and my mother and my sister. And so I can let her know this is why we told you not to do that. And as for my mother, when she said that she would support my daughter, she let her dad know that she wants to stay and she would not would have to go back with them, that she'll support them. So me being in a position to where I needed more help if she was going to be here like that, after she was taken, I let my mother know what was shown to me, that my mother didn't keep her word because she didn't help me help my daughter. You know, it was too much weight on me still, and she didn't put in with that. So that was a lesson for her to learn. And then I went around and said, well, that shows a lot of things like maybe we weren't ready, maybe we rushed it. We could have waited. It didn't have to happen that weekend. We could have waited till next weekend. We could have at least waited till a month. But all these things that happened here in this situation, I learned from it, my mother learned from it, and my sister learned from it. My sister's apartment is next door. The police and CPS came and took him also. Her apartment manager just now moved her stuff out and moved people in there. It's been like 3 or 4 months. But they were having people come to our house with paperwork and trying to serve us. But because we weren't answering, they left them taped on the door or just on the floor and yelling we're sorry. But when we finally looked in it, my sister sees that they're complaining to the courts that their property is being foreclosed. So we shouldn't have been scared to look at the documents or anything like that, because that's still revealing all truth. Because anytime there's a no, that's just for you to have more understanding. Like if you look for a ball that's green, and then you see this one, is it green? No, it's red. That no is never bad. But when you find the no, the ball that's green, then you can just say, yes, all of this information and engaging to where you are and what you're seeing and what you're understanding and doing.
Yes. Empress, see, what you're saying there is that you know that the ancestors are testing you all. That's really what you're saying.
Oh, yes, I know that, and it's for me, and that's why I wanted to say something so this guy can hear something like that, because I know that was for me. They know how to get my attention. And one time also when I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, I had an eerie feeling, and a car was just driving real close up against me, and I got to a light stop, and the person got out of the car, and I'm looking, I was like, okay, they're letting somebody out right here? But I was like, no, that's on the driver's side. And they're walking up angry like they're about to have confrontation with me, and I knew it was the ancestors. And I had another incident that happened like that with someone right behind me, but I knew what it was about. And I just have to have faith in that and understanding in that and be grateful for all the lessons that are molded for me to pass. Because I needed to strengthen myself. I'm in this predicament because I was too shy to speak up and uncomfortable, and that was all fear. And usually, because I'm not a scary person, but with those type of things and my comfortability, that's where that fear came out in that way. Because like when the police came here and they was all here, I was just trying to get in my house. They was in my parking spot. I was going to just park. If they had the door open, I was going to be like, excuse me, and go to my room. Like, I don't care if y'all here, because I know that they can't do anything. They're actors. They're pretenders. They don't even know who they are.
Well, and as long as we don't have corporate contracts with them, because I've walked past them and they couldn't say a word because I did not speak to them. We talked about that a couple of weeks back. But, you know, Empress, thank you for sharing that because, again, it takes a very courageous one of us, and this is something we all have to do. Look in the mirror and see that God is there and that God is in control of everything that happens to God. God is not God if everybody else can control God. God is governing.
Yes, it's like we're the cells in the body. So, of course, we don't control that. If the body wants the cells to heal, that's what is going to happen. And we're just playing, we're just interpretation playing that out in this reality.
Yes. And people, you know, if we don't know that it's an energy issue, then we're going to keep running into the barriers that are being put up there. Now, I've talked to several more in the past. There are a couple of Moors that I spoke to who were exhibiting a certain type of war energy. And I'm not saying, and it's not anybody that was on this call, not the brother that was talking. I'm just talking about in general. There were a couple of Moors in the past, and this was last year and year before last, who, when they exhibited a certain type of war energy, I already know when I see that energy that they're slated for a test. Usually, Moors who have war energy or any type of energy where they, that needs to be cleared, there's a test that's going to come if they're not willing to clear the energy. And if you find yourself in that same, being ran up against that same test repeatedly, then you got to look at yourself. You can't look at anybody else. If you're having the same energy and the same test present itself repeatedly, then you have to look at you. You can't look at anyone else. And it's not about documents and paperwork. These subjects know who we are. It's good that that stuff be competent, but it's better that we have the energy that matches the lawfulness, because part of being lawful is energy. There are universal laws where energy is concerned, and this is a test for that. What we're doing now and what we're going through now is a test for that. I would go into what Justice Marcel was saying, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to tell that whole thing right now, because all it's going to do is point to energy that the energies must be cleared, period. They must be cleared. And that doesn't change our love between us as brothers and sisters, but we still have to change our energies if they're not what the ancestors would have us rise with. And thinking that someone else can control your destiny and your thinking that someone else can control your destiny and your sovereign status, because see, that's the test that we had with the Albion. We thought they controlled stuff that they didn't control. They were actors. They were pretending to control us. Now we see that they couldn't control us, or else we wouldn't be here. None of us would be here right now if they really had some authority to control us. They don't. They don't. If they did, we already know we would be right back in citizen status, and we would be still working for them, slaving, and then most of us in a jail cell somewhere. So I said all of that to say this: peace must reign. It must reign among us. Peace must reign among the heirs. We cannot be at war with anyone, not each other and not the Albions, not the foreigners, not the corpses, none of that. We can't. And our peace, just as Amos in the chat, does terrify those who live off war. And if we live off war, they're going to war back. And that's part of that frustration is the Albions keep warring back. If we war, they're going to war back. And just because we're heirs does not mean we can war. In fact, that's the reason to be the peace, because we're the heirs. See, some have that a little bit mixed up, where we're the heirs and we shouldn't be this and that and this and that. We are the heirs and we shouldn't be warring with each other or with them, because they're going to war back. We taught them how to war. And when they war back, you can't get mad at anyone. We have to look within. We have to. All of us. We have to look within. So, having said that, I'll go back to what we talked about at the beginning, and we'll conclude here. Again, Justice Marcel and all Moors who are going through that, our hearts are with you, but we cannot test for you. You must test for yourself. Compassion is seeing the heart of another and knowing when to assist and when to step back and allow them to breathe, and them to stand sovereign in their own sovereign status and to claim their own win by passing their own test without other Moors being in the middle of them testing. Because I've seen Moors be in the middle of tests and they get worn out in the middle because they're not supposed to be there. That right there on the screen. That's why it's there. We have compassion for all Moors. We've been tested too. And we have to pass our own test. That's tough to hear for some. But we do. We do. And then we're here to assist one another as we pass our own test. With that being said, yes. Yes, Empress Minnie, there's a multitude of lessons to be learned. This is almost, whatever that is the law you personify. Yes. Islam in the chat, all of that. Just as you're more, see and be yourself. Empress Minnie, if God is with you, who can be against you? If God is you, who can be against you? Empress Minnie, that's bold. That's good. That's great. I mean, Empress Alessandra, yes. And Empress Portia, they're all already being tested. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. The chat, great. Just everything. All that's being put in the chat is just awesome and amazing. And with that, we'll go ahead and conclude here. But that's why we have these calls, because there's so much more that we need to talk about as a nation and get clear the concepts in our minds as to what God really, as to who God really is and what that energy looks like. What is a sovereign? Look it up. Look it up. No one can tell a sovereign what to do, so we don't even try.
I pray this.
Peace, Islam. Islam. So with that, peace. Empress Aliyah, were you going to say something?
Oh, no.
Okay. With that, peace and grand rising to the end.
Grand rising.
Peace and grand rising.
Peace and grand rising.
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 Peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace to the God. Grand rising. Yes, Islam.
Peace and love, heirs. Ashe.
Islam.
Grand rising to the Moors. Grand rising to the Moors.
Islam. Grand rising.
Awesome. Awesome light.
Yes, Islam. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Tell them to get out of it.